Hello, everybody. It's Graham Coath. It's my music. It's the middle of the week. Yay. We're nearly at Friday, which is great. And I'm joined today by Paul Baker from Daniel Takes a Train. We've just been having a chat off air, and I have to say, Paul has got stories to tell. So this is going to be a really exciting listen over the next, however long it takes. I don't care, really. I have to say, these things are happening, Paul, because of a nice sponsor. So I'm just going to show you. I don't know whether you're a bit of a geek when it comes to sort of technology or gadgets or whatever. But this is their product. This is their main product. Now look at this. So all of you that are listening on Spotify, this bit is really rubbish. All right, because you can't see it. But just imagine in your head something that looks like it's come out of an umbrella sleeve.
Yeah.
And it's about the length of a small umbrella, made of sort of plastic and rubber, etc. But this is really, really clever stuff, because what happens here, Paul, is that you just do this with it, and it's a laptop stand.
Ah, very clever.
There you are. So thanks to Nextstand for sponsoring these things. This, folks, is a laptop stand that you can just take with you on the go, which is incredibly useful for a lot of musicians as well at the moment, because everybody's making music on laptops and stuff these days.
Yeah.
Now, tell us, Paul, do you make music on a laptop?
I think Dan, our guitarist, and he kind of plays around with stuff and then sends me tracks and what have you. So we've had to learn, I guess, with lockdown, that you've got to be a little bit more ingenious about the way you do things. So, we've had rehearsals in gardens. We've done rehearsals on Zoom. So we've just been as innovative as we can, because we needed to get the album done. And we were so lucky. I mean, obviously we'll come onto it, but the new album's called Last Ticket To Tango. But we basically had about 3 tracks we needed to finish off the album. And we were very lucky. We timed it just so that we got everything done before the final lockdowns and then the future lockdowns. So we were lucky. Yeah.
Now, again, for the people on Spotify, I've very deliberately put a green screen up today, and I've chosen a nice little backdrop for me, which is, I think, Daniel waiting for his train.
Looks exactly like it might have been. Absolutely.
Like it might have been. And you said you're quite jealous of the fact. But you've got a nice backdrop there as well, because you've got an England poster up there. But it's not. That has a specific reference to you. Tell us a little bit about the story about the England poster.
Yeah, I mean, basically, in 2006, I wrote an England song called "Stand Up for England," and I managed to get it as one of TalkSport's favourite songs, and it got on the album for 2006, and it went on to sell 170,000 copies. So I have my one and only gold disc in my living room downstairs, but it was for an England song, not a Daniel Takes a Train song. So hopefully we can change that at some point in the future. But and I went on to write another England song in 2012, which was the official England song for the European Championships of 2012. So I think I was quoted as someone saying the Andrew Lloyd Webber of football songs. So I made a little hobby of writing football songs, which has been a bit of fun,
Oh, well, you go. Some people have made a career out of writing football songs.
Yeah.
Lightning
Dylan
Seeds.
Skinner.
Lightning Seeds.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. I wish I'd written 3 Lions. I have to say, I might.
It's a great song.
Slightly nicer house, but
or World in Motion by New Order. That was
another
great song as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But your song was a great song as well.
Yeah,
so
it did all right. Did all right.
Exactly that.
Cammy's a legend. It was great fun to work with. So enjoyed it immensely.
Now, you may have been asked this a million times, but who is Daniel and what train is he taking?
Good question. Daniel is from a film about the Hungarian uprising. It's actually a name of a film that I think it won the Cannes Film Festival in 1982, but it's about the 1958 Hungarian uprising. And what happened is, I think Dan, who's our guitarist, was walking around, I think, Notting Hill, and saw this big sign on this cinema saying Daniel Takes a Train. And he thought, obviously it's called Daniel, he thought, what a great name for a band. It was around the era of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Curiosity Killed the Cat, Johnny Hates Jazz. So all these bands had these big sort of names with attitude. So I think
it was a statement.
It was a statement, and we thought everybody called Daniel will buy the T-shirts. So we might get some merch deals out of it as well. But it was a bit of fun, and it certainly when you looked at a gig guide, it sort of stood out. So we've had it for 30 odd years, whatever it is now.
Well, actually, I expect for a lot of people that were promoting it, it was a pain in the backside as well, because they had to try and fit Daniel Takes a Train into a space,
Yeah, we became DTAT, DT.
Oh, right, I was going to say. You had the abbreviation as well.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
There you
go.
You were telling me just before we went live that you managed to sort of break into the Brits one year. Yeah. Do you just want to tell that as a little story?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was a bit of fun. We were obviously trying to make our way in the industry, and we thought, where are we going to find an event where we can get our cassette tapes, obviously as they were in the day, to as many people as we could. And I suddenly had this brainwave of, let's go to the Brits, which were on at the Grosvenor House Hotel. So I could only persuade one of the band to sort of be my partner in crime. So our bass player joined me, and we got a taxi to the entrance. We tagged along to the back of the party of Meatloaf, who was there with about 12 people. So we managed to sort of tag on to the back, chatted to a few of the lovely ladies that were on part of his entourage, acted a little bit drunk, got in, and then worked the room. Basically, we're giving out cassettes to the Pet Shop Boys management. Alison Moy had photos with her, and Wet, 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 and Tears for Fears. But I mean, I guess the highlight for us was that we got mentioned on Radio 1 on the Saturday by Peter Powell, who said the best part of the Brits was when this young band gate crashed their way past security, handed out their cassettes, and good luck to you. So we never got signed, but it was a lovely part of the story, which obviously we can relay back to now later on. And
and how old were you then?
History.
How old were you then?
I would have been sort of 26, 27, something like that. Right. So mid-20s. Mid-20s, Probably, a bit old for a pop star these days. They all seem to be 16 and 17.
Well, no. Well, maybe for a pop star. A pop star. But, do you really want to be a pop star these days?
That's exactly. Thing. And it's much nicer to have, kind of found some enjoyment a bit later in life. Because I think when you get success early on, you don't appreciate it as much. I think, certainly as a band, we've loved the reunion and getting back together again and the excitement that it's all brought about. So, it's been really lovely to be part of history, if you like. So,
Anita, who's listening, says cassette tapes, childhood memories. I'm glad you remembered cassette tapes. Cassette tapes are actually making a comeback as well, though, which is great.
Yeah,
same as vinyl. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think because at the end of the day, it makes you listen to the whole thing. That's the brilliant thing about it. I every single conversation I have with a musician these days, I bring this up. I love streaming. Yes. I do, because I love the fact that I can talk to that little box in the corner and it brings up exactly what I want it to do. Right at that moment.
Yeah. And when you've got a cassette tape, Graham, you always need one of these, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to have a pencil.
Do you remember those?
To wind it on.
I'm showing my age here.
Mate, I actually had like the little block with the razor blade and the tape as well for mending.
Oh God, fantastic!
So in case they broke, because they were, sometimes you had, especially if you were making music, because I had an old 8-track recorder that was cassette based.
Right.
So everything was being recorded onto cassette tape. You don't want to lose anything.
No.
So sometimes you just had to mend the cassette.
And I wonder if Anita was it 7 o'clock on a Sunday night or whatever it was, with the cassette tape, trying to make sure that you didn't get the DJ talking. You just got the beginning of the song, and you tried to click it up just at the end, so you missed all the chat. So yeah, lovely days, lovely days.
I had my father gave me a record player that had a radio as well built in and had a little cassette player, and that's what got me started in radio, because
Right.
I used to tape the charts and then fill in between with records. And then I had a microphone as well, and I'd do the chat in between, and I'd do
Brilliant.
my own version of the charts.
Fantastic.
You know, and I'd be quite cool about some of it, because some of it was, over the years, some of the songs weren't that great. But you know, as soon as it was a song that I really, really loved, then it was great. Now, talking about songs that you really, really loved, I mean, you were showing me, as I say before we came on, some memorabilia from the past as well.
Yeah.
And in terms of the sounds on this album,
yes,
you were name checking some of the bands. I'm glad you did it, but you were name checking some of the sounds, if you like, that come through in terms of different types of bands. And you mentioned, you know, Deacon Blue, Aztec Camera, Prefab Sprout, the Smiths. In terms of sounds, it's a little bit of a journey back through all of those different sounds.
Yeah, totally.
You must have. You're a fan at the end of the day, and that comes through in the music.
I think so, and I think it's in our DNA. I mean, when Dan and I try to, you know, look at writing stuff and what have you, there always seems to be that, you know, that element, if you like, that's in our DNA that we just seem to, you know, have that jangly pop maybe, but then we've got a bit of a, you know, Dan sort of writes for me as well to a certain degree. So one of the tracks called Last Ticket to Tango was a definite sort of ABC vibe to it, because you know, my karaoke song is Look of Love by ABC. So
really?
Yeah. So I guess, you know, there's an element of that. There's you know, and when we've looked at the reviews, it's not just us, but when we looked at the reviews from all around the world, you know, that you do get these references for, you know, the Smiths, Haircut 100, Aztec Camera, Tears for Fears, Prefab Sprout, all these different ones. So, you know, it's great that that we've got sort of, you know, we've got a new sound, but perhaps, you know, has that sort of DNA 80s feel to it as well. So hopefully there's something for everybody. I mean, I think that's what we like about the album, that it covers a multitude of genres, and you know, we think there's something for everybody on that album. So, you know, hopefully go and have a listen.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it does, in terms of style, it changes. You know, sometimes there's even like little hints of sort of reggae in there, and then in other times,
ska,
you know,
bit of ska, bit of funk. You know, there's a bit of everything, and you know, I think we kind of wanted an album that had a mixture of different flavors, rather than just sort of. We didn't want an 80s album. We wanted an album that felt fresh, and we were very lucky that we managed to find a brilliant producer, a guy called Pat Collier, who used to be the Vibrators bass player, but he's produced Jesus and Mary Chain, Maximo Park, and he even did Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine. So there's one of the tracks called Honeymoon that's got a real Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine feel about it. So very upbeat, and you know, I defy anyone not to tap their feet when they play that track. So
by the way, it's very dangerous coming on a show like this and mentioning karaoke, because I might actually get you to sing. It's the wrong time of the day, isn't it?
I would go out tonight, but I haven't got a stitch to wear. There you go.
It's nonsense, it's crazy that someone so handsome should care. There you go.
Harmony.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
We turned everybody off.
Well, talking of which, look what I dug out of the loft.
Now, again, for anyone that's listening to this, he's now holding up. That's all right. Paul's now holding up a piece of paper that says Morrissey, Handsome Forever. Was the great man actually wrote that for you? Did he?
He did, yeah. It was the closing of the GLC, and it was at the South Bank, and it was a gig in 1985, and I managed to wear a Boots camera around my neck and a homemade little sort of label, and I managed to blag it that I was one of the photographers for the official event. So I got backstage. I was in the dressing room with the Smiths. There is the sign for the Smiths dressing room, signed by Mary Wilson. You'll see there. And I managed to
Great Mary Wilson.
get in and chat with Morrissey, chat with Johnny Marr, chat with Andy Rourke, and so it was brilliant. And got Morrissey. We got the band to actually sign the whole set list, and I also forgot that I had that Morrissey personalised signature in a box that was in the loft. So,
I expect you've got
great find.
I expect you've got lots of other little memories of conversations with musicians as well that you haven't got like a memorabilia for. I remember talking in the toilet queue at Glastonbury backstage one year with Kirsty McCall, bless her.
Bless,
about Billy Bragg. Which was fantastic, not the place that you typically talk, meet people or whatever, but it's a long queue. It's a good conversation. So
yeah, I think interestingly enough, when I met Dan at the Marquee Club, the first time I met, we were at a gig there, and I'd actually recorded a song with Tom Robinson.
Right, Tom.
Yeah, so I actually gave him this cassette, and he, and on the back of that, he actually, because we hadn't got mobiles in those days, so I had to give Dan my landline number, and on the back of that track, he liked it and got in touch, and we ended up forming Daniel Takes a Train, which was great.
Tom still does radio shows, so
maybe
you should be hitting up Tom for a radio slot.
Well, I have tried, Tom. If you're listening, please don't forget.
Come on, Tom.
yeah. Give Last Ticket to Tango a spin, Tom. That would be great.
Absolutely. Well, Tom doesn't take a train, does he? He takes a motorway instead.
Yeah, absolutely. He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah. That was
2468. Yeah.
Yeah. No, what a great
2468. Never too
motorway.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now,
radio. Yeah.
So
cool.
You've had some press with this album in terms of the fact that you were a band 30 years ago. 20
84 to 88.
Yeah,
84
right.
To 88. Yeah.
And now the press sort of like from lad to dad band, etc. Because you've all grown up now.
Yeah.
But when you were producing this, when it came back around that that this was time to do it, and you're all in the right space to do this.
Yeah.
Did it feel like you were back there time wise again? Did you suddenly feel sort of like I'm actually in my 20s again? I think, especially up here.
Yeah, I think you do. I think music is such a great healer. It's such a great therapy. It was just a time in our lives where I think when you get to your mid 50s, you kind of look at your life, you reflect, and you kind of sometimes think, I need something extra. Now, some people go and play golf. Some people get into gardening. So in a funny sort of way, it was a really important part of our lives to kind of be thrust back into sort of writing music again, because we didn't know whether we could do it. We didn't know whether it was going to be any good or whatever. We'd like to think it was, but when Dan and I got together, we had a few sessions around here strumming with guitar, and then I went over to his place and I'd get an idea in my head and then sing something, sing down the phone and then send him the track, and he'd say, I can hear something with this. And so we would just sort of work together, and before we knew it, we had about 3 or 4 songs, and then we suddenly thought, actually, these aren't too bad. So, we kind of brought out a couple of them as a single and got some good interest and what have you. And we thought, is there an album in this? And over the 2-year period, we've basically put together 11 new songs and a couple of bonus tracks. One of which we were very lucky, actually, because it's a really funny story, this, but we got all the excitement in 2018. We did 6 national TV appearances in 8 days. We were on Sky, we were on BBC, and of course, things were getting quite exciting. So somebody contacted me who I'd known from the past, and said, I can be your manager. And we thought, wow, fantastic, we're going to have a proper manager here. And the interesting thing is that he came and stayed with me, and he was making calls left, right, and centre, and he told us some amazing things that we were going to be a big telecommunications company wanted us for the TV Christmas ad.
Right.
Sony wanted to sign us. Squeeze wanted us to be on tour with them. We've been booked for festivals in Spain. Abbey Road Studios were booked. The guy from the Associates was going to produce us.
Right.
And he was so clever because, these people's names, Peter Hook's name was coming up on his phone. And what turned out 3 months later is we realised that he had 2 phones. And that this was all fantasy. It was all his little fantasy, and he was living in his own little dream world. But the thing is in a funny sort of way, it kind of kicked us on, and we thought we've got to write new songs. So in a funny sort of way, although
he did you good,
he did us good. And the one good thing he did, when we were talking about doing a gig at the Troubadour, we said, wouldn't it be great to have an 80s band come and play with us?
Yep.
And so I contacted a few people, and ended up working with Duncan from Blue Mercedes.
Right.
I Want to Be Your Property, for anyone that remembers that one. But we did get hold of Jem Kelly from the Lotus Eaters.
Right.
And Jem was brilliant. Obviously fueled on by this potential excitement of all these things happening. He kindly offered us studio time because he was a tutor in Buckingham University.
Yeah.
So he booked us a studio time with one of his top students, and that got the first 3 songs on the album sorted. And Jem kindly played guitar on the first Picture of You, which is obviously a brilliant song from Lotus Eaters from 1983, I believe.
Yeah.
And performed with us on Radio Kent live. So we got to perform with a legend that is Jem Kelly. We got the Lotus Eaters first Picture of You track recorded in the studios, and it's on the album as a bonus track. So there was some good things that came out of it, but I mean, ultimately, Christ, what a roller coaster of emotions.
Do you know what? You've absolutely just done it again, because now I'm going to, as soon as we finish this interview, I'm going to go and get the Lotus Eaters out and listen to that again.
Absolutely.
I have to say, and I said it to you earlier, this is what I think partly this album does. It's a brilliant album in its own right. It is an absolutely brilliant album in its own right. Let's talk about the themes, etc., in a minute.
Yeah.
But one of the things you'll find if you listen to this album, folks, is that as soon as you finish listening, you'll go to your record collection or your CD collection, and you will start going, I'm going to listen to that now. I'm going to listen to that now. Because you won't hear the songs in this. It's all very fresh, but it will take you back to that period, and you'll go, I want to listen to that again. I'm going to get a bit of the Smiths out. I'm going to listen to Farron Young by Prefab Sprout. Yeah. Let's get a bit of China Crisis out. A bit of You Did Cut Me. And you will be transported back slightly as well as it being fresh, and it's great.
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, achieved that.
I think so. I mean, a lot of people we've been on some radio interviews, and people have said, gosh, with this story and the fact that, you've had this dodgy manager, what have you, wouldn't it make a great film? So we are open to offers. We are in discussions at the moment.
Well, do you know what? I'd go back to your university there where you got your music student, and because my son is studying film at the moment at university. Right.
There you go.
It's a project.
Yes.
It's a project. Yeah. And I really love the fact that I was talking to someone yesterday about it, that in universities now, students are really learning these crafts properly. And back in the day, not saying that this happened, but back in the day, we made it up.
Yeah.
Right. We were in bands. I was in a band, and we were signed to completely the wrong label. But we all just kind of bluffed it, okay? And I think we became really good at bluffing it. But the thing is that these days students are actually learning this because they have to this craft together, and I mean that's a great thing. But they also make them work across different technical areas as well.
Right.
So you find that the music students will work with the film students so that they can come out of it together and go into careers together. So I would tap up your friend from the Lotus Eaters and say, look, have you got a film student?
That's true. Yeah, could be.
This could be a little project.
Could be a new Sing Street for 2021.
Absolutely. So tell us, in terms of the album and themes, were any of the themes trying to look back, or did you find you were talking about stuff that was just relevant to being in your age group now?
Yeah, I don't think it was any, when track 1, Sleeping with the Enemy, Dan liked the idea of having some sort of Russian spy idea that could be a James Bond theme. So we kind of wrote it and we thought, Billie Eilish has got something coming out, and as we kind of got this idea already in our heads, that we thought, well, let's kind of, make it a kind of an alternative, unofficial James Bond thing. So we've still got that in the locker because that film hasn't come out yet. So we're still hoping. And we actually we did a video for that, and that was great fun because we found a working men's club in southeast London, and
well, there you go. That was fun.
It's fun in itself, exactly. Pints of beer for $1.50, so it was great. And we got we kind of advertised and went to Star Now and got all these actors. Some have actually got good show reels and said you're doing a budget video, but it was great fun, and we did it all in a day. And thanks to a company called Rolled Sleeves who did the video. So that was a great experience in itself, because we haven't done a video for 30 odd years as well. So that was fun to do. So you've got that, and then you've got I suppose Stranger Things Can Happen was just an idea that came to me in terms of almost sort of self-prophetic, in terms of a musician who's perhaps had seen better days, but change your mind, change your clothes. It's almost like it's time to give up, but you've reached your final curtain, and it kind of just felt like I'm not going to mention any particular singers who might have been based on, but there was some. So I don't think when we did the album, I don't think there was any let's write a song about this, let's write a song about it. It just was almost sort of it just developed. It was all it almost just happened in terms of an idea that Dan or I had. I mean, Last Ticket to Tango was the last song we did, because we were trying to come up with a name for the album, and the last album was called Style, Charm and Commotion. And the reason it was called Style, Charm and Commotion is that when we put an ad for the drummer in Melody Maker,
that's what you were looking for.
We put everything but the drummer. Have you got style, charm and commotion? And obviously style was related to the Style Council. Charm was related to this charming man from the Smiths, and Lloyd Cole and the Commotions. So it was quite a bold, title, Style, Charm and Commotion. So we wanted something a bit bold. And we were just talking, and I just said, maybe something to do with tickets, because Daniel takes a train. And I just randomly said to Dan, what about Last Ticket to Tango? And he said, I love it. So we then said, well, let's write a song called Last Ticket to Tango. So it kind of came about from that, and Dan sort of started coming around with some lyrics and what have you, and so that was the last one on the album. And then what other ones we got on there? North was basically about a journey, possibly to a loved one up north that you don't see anymore, and maybe a broken family, and the son's based up north. And so there was, I think with songs you don't really want to spell out. You want the
everything.
listener.
Yeah, you don't want everything.
And what was really lovely is that on our Facebook page, somebody had written that North and My Town really helped them get through a difficult period in their life. And I don't necessarily know the reasons why, but there's obviously something which is, and My Town's actually probably the most sort of, I don't know, I can call it political, but it's a song. Basically, when I went back down, I come from Deal, Dover, around that way, and And when I went, primarily more about Dover, because Deal's actually kind of really quite a nice place. But I realised that when I looked at Dover, that a lot of the high street shops had all closed, everything was boarded up, and then Deal, the sort of the pier has seen better days. So my town is basically about saving the high street and sort of, looking back and realising that the school that
I was going to ask you about my town, because for me, that's just so on the nail relevant at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you couldn't have picked a better lyric, really, to hit in with in the middle of a pandemic.
Totally, yeah, and it's so true. And I think, the amount of charity shops in the high streets now, and the betting shops, and
But none of us know what's going to be left, do we?
No.
Once we get back out there again, who knows what's going to be left?
It's basically, one of the lyrics is "Murder of the High Street," because it is, the high street's almost been forgotten, and we kind of wanted to sort of have a song that was passionate about, and what's so lovely in a lot of these places is that the community is still there.
Yep.
It was a kind of, one of the lines is, all it needs is loving, just like you and me, because, towns need to be loved. Flower beds need to be preserved. And it needs the community to sort of care, if you like, about their community. Otherwise, even more towns will suffer.
Oh no, totally agree. So, and talking about community, how important is community for you in terms of the music and taking this on as well now? Because I think actually with an album like this, you couldn't build a community of people that have those kind of shared experiences, and and also those kind of shared reminiscings of the style and the sounds.
And I think you're right, Graham. It is finding where that is, especially with social platforms and social media. What I've tried to do is go to some of the fan pages of the bands that I love that might like this album, and we've actually sold quite a few copies from fans of the Haircut 100s and the Style Council and whatever. But I think it is, it's not just an album for people in their 50s or 40s or 60s and what have you. I think a lot of young people. I've been working and gave a young lad called Jake St. Ange. She's a singer-songwriter. I gave him his first break in terms of he came and played with the band at the Troubadour. And he's very successful. I think he's 18, and he actually just sent me a WhatsApp message the other day, and he just said, absolutely love my town, and I just said to him, well, if you want to go and stick a rap on it, because he's great at what he does, I said feel free, because I said it's one of those songs that I think, as you say, even young people can relate to, because it's sort of they can see what's going on around them. So yeah, I think we're very into community. I think we try and post as much on our Facebook page. So anybody who likes the sound of us, please come and join us on Facebook, and our Twitter as well, @TakesATrain, because we kind of we love reminiscing as well, but we also want new people to be listening into Daniel Takes a Train and getting a flavour of what we do, and we're really proud of the album. So we kind of we think if we can just get it out there, then there might be a more of an audience that will enjoy our music. So
I think you should be absolutely proud of this album, because I think it's a tremendous album. Anita said, Paul mentioned Tears for Fears, I'll be playing that today. You see, it does have that an effect.
Yeah,
this whole conversation around this album has that kind of effect of reawakening kind of a passion for perhaps things that people have not listened to for a while, and I think that's great. And I think maybe that is your calling card into getting this into people's consciousness, is just to say, look, go and listen to something that's new, something that's fresh, that has a message for today, because it's made of today, but it will take you on that train journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take you on that journey into it will help you reminisce as well, and it will bring out all of those kind of feelings. I think that's brilliant.
I think what the key thing for us was not to do an 80s album, because that's what Style, Charm and Commotion was. That was an album of our old demos of that era. This is us as grown men now with life experience, writing stuff that we love and that we would want to buy. And if there were more, if there were more of that out there, I mean, I would be buying that myself. So I kind of when you hear a lot of this retro stuff and bands reforming, what they tend to do is they're playing all their old hits, but they're not really giving us much new stuff. So we're probably one of the few bands that are an 80s band that are giving you sort of an 80s flavour, but with a modern day twist. So hopefully there's something for everybody.
Well, you share a promotions company with Candy Opera, and I spoke to them the other day, and it's a similar story in a way. Again, they've made an album of now.
Yes. Yeah.
But they were back then.
Yeah.
So I do you know what? I think there's so many people that will want to listen to this.
Yeah.
It's just a case of sort of taking the plunge and actually doing that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So hopefully this is why I'm doing stuff like this, because at the end of the day, there's some, honest to goodness, when I listened to it, I just sat there with a big smile on my face, which is what I think people will get if they listen to this album. I think people will feel that kind of warm feeling inside, that they'll be happy because there's some fantastic songs on this album that if they had been released back then, and you'd been there with all your swagger, would have been really, really successful.
And funnily enough, somebody said recently there's one track that's probably more different than anything else, and it's called "Song for the Broken Hearted."
Yes.
And it's sort of got a Pet Shop Boysy sort of feel to it, perhaps. But we're actually right in the middle of getting a dance mix done for that.
Wow.
So we're hoping, and that's going to be coming out as a single, both with the original version and the remix, probably about March time. So we've got a guy who's remixing it at the moment. So we're kind of quite excited about how Daniel Takes a Train might sound with a remix. So that might again give us a new audience. And I think what you've got to keep trying to do in the world of music is try to find something which kind of resonates with people and gives them the opportunity, if you like, to go and check it out. And once you've checked it out, I mean, I was listening to the Gideon Coe show the other day, and I actually heard a singer called Josh Rouse, and I'd never heard of him. But I checked it out, and I've on the back of that one track that was played on the Gideon Coe show, I've just gone and bought 2 of his albums. So, you need somebody to introduce you. You need a champion. So, Graham, we're relying on you, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I'll certainly give that a try.
And Anita. Keep going, Anita.
Anita, do that.
You do that.
And I have to say, it's a misconception as well that young people don't listen to different genres of music and don't listen to sort of music that's not necessarily current and in the charts as well. I mean, my 2 lads, they're going to kill me for saying this, but my 2 lads that are home working at the moment downstairs continuously listen to ABBA, which is just,
great songwriting.
Great, absolutely great songwriting. But they listen to other stuff as well. But they're very possibly having a dad like me. You never know. But they're quite eclectic in their listening. And I interviewed a young lad yesterday called Matrix, who's a rapper from Louisiana, and he, in talking about his influences, there were all the great rappers and up-to-date rappers in there, but Marvin Gaye came out, and you just think, great, young people do actually listen to music across generations, and they do go back into stuff as well. So I think
I was going to say, the amount of people, I'm on a Smiths fan page, and the amount of people who discover the Smiths and they're sort of 17, 18 and and love the sound and want all the back catalogue stuff and everything. So,
mate, if we had still had original Meat Is Murder T-shirts, they would sell for a bomb.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about it. I think you've only got to look at the whole memorabilia and the whole sort of retro thing. I think People just it's nostalgia, isn't it? You know, we
Yeah.
especially at a time like this when we're all, you know, lockdowns kicked in again and we're all looking for things to do. I kind of think we're reminiscing a bit more as well, and I think we're getting in touch with people that perhaps mean something in our life. I mean, I've just Facebooked somebody I used to play football with, and I don't, you know, it was just something I kind of thought it would be great to get back in contact, and you know, I think it's important, you know, that sense of looking at things that are important to you, you know, and I think the moral of our story is never give up on what you love, because, you know, we obviously love music and we love being in a band, and, you know, we probably do feel like we're 17-year-olds again, but you know, it's great, you know, and we really miss the live gigs, because when we did several gigs at the Troubadour and 93 Feet East and the St. Moritz Club, and it was just great getting back on stage, and, you know, and having people who came to the gigs and actually sort of, you know, were singing along to the songs. So obviously it gives you a great faith that, you know, that if you could just get the bigger platform, and thrown it in there again, another Daniel Takes a Train reference, you know, that there would be, you know, more passengers that we could, you know, keep on the journey with us. So
I was going to ask you about that, because I had the experience of getting back with my first drummer in my band after 20-something odd years, for his brother's wedding a couple of years ago. And he's gone on to be a world famous drummer. So, you know, fantastic musician. Yeah. But it was really interesting because there was him in the band, there was his brother in the band who I used to play in the band with, and then he brought in a couple of musicians. But we hadn't rehearsed or done anything for years, but we got together to do these songs for a wedding, and it was just like, as soon as we started again, it was immediate. That chemistry that was there. Did you find that yourselves as you went back in?
Absolutely. It was really lovely, and you instantly knew. I mean, Dan and I, we're so different in many respects in the way that we write stuff, and our styles are quite different. But when we get together, it kind of, you know, I perhaps bring the pop element, he brings the credible element, and we kind of, between us, we sort of find that we can write songs that that work. I mean, you know, you've got the lovely thing is that we've got a band of people that we actually enjoy rehearsing with and
hanging out with.
In the studio, because you know, and Paul, our sax player, he used to be in a band called Helen and the Horns, which, you know, we did a few Peel sessions and what have you. So, you know, that the nice thing is that we don't, you know, in the past we would probably always write a sax bit in the song, whereas now we're kind of thinking, well, we don't necessarily have every song has to have the sax in, but you know, we have that flexibility, if you like. If the song, if it adds something, then great. But I think we're perhaps more disciplined in the way we write now, in terms of it's got to be what's right for the song, as opposed to trying to keep everybody happy. We're a bit older, a bit more mature now. We can kind of like, you know, we can sort of debate things and say, okay, well, this would sound better with that. And so, you know,
it's so important that you do get on with people, isn't it? Yeah. Because it was quite interesting when I was talking to Jeff Downs in the interview the other day, and we were just talking about the sort of behind the scenes, you know, sort of rehearsal or studio element of music making that people don't see. Which is that it's people, and he described it beautifully. He said, you know, people would come along to a studio thinking it's going to be exciting, and soon realize after a couple of hours just how incredibly boring it is. You know,
it can be. And I think if you're working with a good producer, and I think we found Pat Collier, as I say, he's in a place called Perryvale Studios, and it was just like magic. It was almost, as I think I said to you when we were chatting before, that it was a bit like finding our Trevor Horn moment, you know, where he just added something magic to the tracks to make them come alive and come out of the speakers. And, you know, whether it was just the sort of the way that he, you know, the beat changed, or the way that he just mixed it, so it just sounded so much fresher.
Yeah.
than anything we'd done before. So,
And I think that drives you on within a project as well. If you're hearing it coming out in this really fresh way that
yeah,
even the band couldn't imagine.
absolutely. And there's a lot of space in his studio, so you're not on top of each other. You can kind of
Right.
go off and do, write some stuff with one of the other guys, while someone's putting the drums down, and and there's a coffee shop which does nice paninis opposite. So
look, that's I'm sold.
You're sold. Yeah, go check out Pat Collier, Perryvale Studios. Yeah, it's great place.
Advert.
Great place. Yeah, great place to record. No, but so that made a big difference, I think. And you're right, when you suddenly find somebody who gets you, and maybe because he's an 80s child, he was in the Vibrators, but he also added that sort of edge to our music. I think sometimes we were perhaps banded sophistipop at one stage with some of our stuff on Style, Charm and Commotion, but I think we've kind of moved away from that. And
there's an incredible energy about this album. That's I think what he's captured. There's an energy that it moves like a train.
Yeah,
it moves like a train.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
You find yourself just go, whoa, and then the next song.
Yeah.
And then the next song, and it's just like. Yeah,
it's lovely. It's lovely to hear you say that, because we've heard it on reviews, but we haven't actually heard anybody because we can't see anybody or meet anybody. No one's actually telling us that. So it's lovely to hear that you as a music fan yourself, and someone who knows what you're talking about, can actually appreciate that. And obviously trying to choose the track listing in the right orders. You debate about that, and you think. Do we end? We've got to start with, a sort of strong song and finish with the remix, the 80s remix of My Town, which is a different vibe to it as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of very pleased with what we've come up with, and we've had a few orders from Japan, which is great as well. We've got some orders out in Japan in HMV and Tower Records out there.
Wow!
But we'd love to, we've only done a limited run of the CD, so we've only produced sort of 300 odd copies. So we've still got a few left. So it's available on Bandcamp if anyone's interested, and without doing the sales pitch. But
no, you go do the sales pitch, because one of the things I always do in this show is say buy music.
Yeah, right. And I think there's nothing nicer, when I actually get the album out, and we found a photographer called Peter Dench who did all these lovely ballroom shots, because obviously it's called Last Ticket to Tango, and then you've got the CD there and what have you. But it's just it's lovely. I've got a copy in the car, I've got a copy in my CD, and it's just so lovely to be able to, if you've got a CD in the car, just be able to put something on that's a bit different. And
can you for the people that are listening on Spotify, could you just hold up the cover again so that we can all see it? Now, if you're listening to this, he's going to open this, because that's a really beautiful thing inside as well.
Yeah,
the actual CD, that's lovely. And what's that shot of on the inside there?
That is a part of the lovely lady's dress. You can see there. We thought we'd take.
Yeah, there's a close up of the glitz and glamour of the dress,
just to sort of make it a bit more interesting and a bit different, really. So, I mean, it's a nice product.
I'm going to have to get a signed copy of that from yourself.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
After this, because and that's going to take pride of place in my CD collection. But in terms of moving forward, obviously we don't know when this dreadful pandemic's finally going to lift. But are you trying to plan for sort of getting out there towards the end of the year, if it can happen?
Yeah, we'd like to. I mean, I think we're probably not going to be a gigging band. We're all, we've all got jobs and, commitments, if you like, so we can't go and play.
Unless you go madly big in Japan, in which case.
Yeah. The flight tickets will be booked next week for Tokyo. But we love to do. I mean, we were hoping to do the launch party for this album at the there's a ballroom in oh god, what's it called now? The Rialto, is it, or the
Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's in. Hang on, just turn this phone off.
Do. You need to change that ringtone, Paul.
I do.
That needs to be a song from the album, Phil.
But yeah, and we were hoping to in a ballroom. We thought it would be great to do a launch party in a ballroom. You know, how cool would that be? But obviously we haven't got a chance to do that. But if for example, there's a band that's touring and has got a slot and wants a support band to come and play with them, that perhaps from our era, or one-off prestigious gigs, I think would be the way we'd like to do it. But I mean, it's so difficult to plan anything at the moment. So I think if we get any good ideas that come to us in terms of musical ideas, then Dan and I will play around with it and lay down a track.
We'll continue to chat about those sort of things as well, because I'm full of ideas when it comes to stuff like that. And let's see if we can, and you've got a good promotions company. I keep mentioning her because she is great. She always has a really good conversation with me. She knows her bands, which is great.
She does. Yeah.
Shameless promotions. There, I've said the name.
Yes. Shauna. Yeah.
Shauna. Should be so pleased because she got a mention in the last interview, but not the name. So
it's been great working with them, and I think especially Shauna, because she's opened up. I mean, we've done quite well in sort of PR in sort of the UK, but we've never sort of taken our music to further afield, and she's got sort of contacts in 60 different countries. So I did an interview from a late night show in the States the other day, and that was great, just to sort of we had an article in Amplify Music Magazine from Canada, and we've had reviews from Mexico and France and Italy and the States and what have you. So it's just nice to know that all of the sort of hard work we put in for the last 2 years to get to this stage has sort of get some sort of recognition. Obviously we're not going to be topping the charts or anything like that, but it's lovely just to know that your music is appreciated, and that like-minded people can sort of hear an album that they will actually that resonates with them, and that they will think, actually, that's my kind of music, because it's melody. There's the songs. For me, melody is so important in terms of, and I write more choruses. Dan tends to come up with some great ideas, but I like a good bridge and a good chorus, and I want to be tapping my foot and singing along when I hear a song.
I think that's absolutely right. There is some music. There's always been some music. I'm not gonna even generalize this into a generation. There's certainly some music out and about at the moment which has no melody in it. And there's always been some music that's got no melody in it. But there are songs here that are ones that get into your head, and that's great. And I think that's one of the driving factors for it, and it's always the sort of litmus test with my family. Is it something, because not everybody in this house is as passionate about music as me, and I do tend to listen to all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff, but there are other people in this house, my wife in particular, who only listens to something if it's got a melody,
right?
If it's got something that she can latch onto, and she likes this, so that's good. That is an absolute litmus test for whether this is a good melodic album. So if you like melody, you should be doing this.
Did you have a favourite track, just out of interest? Was there one that you'd play more than the others, or?
I think My Town. I think it just resonated with me from the community perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
It almost felt like a, and I'm not trying to make a comparison at all. But that the first Deacon Blue album, which was very much a sort of landscape about their town and where they grew up and whatever. It had the same vibe to it. Right. Not it musically, not the same at all, but it had the same vibe to it, which it was. You listen to it and you just go, "Oh my, that's right." That is and it's emotive on that level, but it's a great tune at the same time.
You can sing that chorus, and as you turn off the radio or turn off the CD or whatever, you're singing it 10 minutes later, aren't you?
Yeah,
'cause it's my time. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a melody is sort of beyond the words of the song. But when you're listening to the song, your conscience gets pricked by it. It's great.
And I remember, the process of writing that track, because so many of the lyrics kind of got thrown away because I wanted the lyrics to be powerful and strong enough to kind of, to deserving, if you like, of the track, because I kind of, there were things that I could, my school isn't there anymore. It is a retail park, so there were some real things that were actually, part of the story, if you like. So I'm glad you like that one. Good one.
It also slightly reminded me of the classic Talking Heads song "Nothing But Flowers," which was clever by its ironic nature, if you know what I mean. I don't know whether you remember that, where he sings it, that once there was a parking lot, now there's nothing but flowers, because it was all in reverse. Very clever lyric.
Very clever. Yeah.
But made you think about what has disappeared by talking about it coming back. Philippa, that is the best comment we can have to end on really today, which is love music. Yeah, Philippa, you can find Philippa on all social media. She's a health and wellness person. She's into movement, etc. I think anybody that's into getting their mind right as well, and trying to keep this bit up here healthy at this point in time, needs music in their lives as well.
Totally.
Thanks for giving me some more music in my life, Paul.
Pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. I'm looking forward to the next album as well, which will come along at some point. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Because Daniel's still got another train to catch.
He probably has, and where it's going to go, who knows? But let's find out the destination maybe next year or year after. We'll see how we get on.
Brilliant. When that happens, come back and talk to me about that one as well.
Brilliant. Will do, Graham.
Thanks very much for joining me today.
Take care.
Bye,
All the very
Paul.
best.
Cheers.
Bye bye.